Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm presenting work on an issue that affects nearly 50 million Americans, the stigma surrounding hearing loss and deafness, and how we can address it systematically through a public health framework. This is personal work for me, as you'll see at the end, but first, let's ground ourselves in what the data tells us. As you review the demographic slides, notice a few things. Hearing loss is incredibly common, affecting roughly 1 in 8 Americans over age 12, yet it often goes unaddressed. You'll also see it's not evenly distributed. It increases sharply with age and affects men more than women in younger groups. But more importantly, look at the health consequences. We're not just talking about hearing difficulties. We're talking about depression rates that are more than double the general population, increased dementia risk, and a utilization gap where only 16 to 30% of people who could benefit from hearing aids actually use them. That gap tells us something critical. People aren't simply choosing not to address this. Stigma is in the way. This is where Precede Proceed comes in. It's a comprehensive planning model, and I've applied it specifically to stigma reduction. The acronym looks complicated on the slide, but the logic is straightforward. Precede is diagnostic. We ask why stigma exists and what drives it. Proceed is implementation and evaluation. We actually do the work and measure what happens. What makes this model powerful for stigma work is that it goes beyond individual behavior change. It asks us to examine organizational barriers, policy failures, and systemic factors. You can't stigma shame someone into getting a hearing aid if the system doesn't support them getting one. Let me walk through what we're actually diagnosing. Start with the social assessment. What matters to this community? The slides show that deaf and hard of hearing people face social exclusion, employment discrimination, and family strain. Gender matters. Deaf women face compounded challenges. Then, epidemiology. We document that stigma creates a mediated pathway to poor health. Stigma leads to avoidance and concealment, which delays care seeking, which leads to worse health outcomes. Behaviorally, we ask a critical question. When do people hide their hearing loss? When do they avoid devices? The research points to critical junctures, specific decision-making moments. Environmentally, we ask, who benefits from the status quo? What systems maintain stigma? Lack of accessible communication, media representation gaps, workplace policies. These aren't accidents. They're structural. And educationally, we identify the misconceptions that persist, that deaf people can't work, that hearing loss means cognitive decline. These myths drive behavior. Once we understand the problem, Proceed asks, how do we specifically intervene? The slide shows interventions work on multiple levels simultaneously. At the individual level, we use awareness campaigns and peer support. Interpersonally, we train healthcare providers and educate families. Organizationally, we push for policy changes and accessibility improvements. This isn't one intervention work, it's ecosystem change. Evaluation isn't an afterthought, it's built in at every stage. We first ask, did we deliver what we planned? Then, are people's attitudes and behaviors actually shifting? Stigma scores, help-seeking delays, hearing aid adoption. These are measurable. Finally, long-term. Did people's actual health improve? Better employment, less depression, better quality of life. You can see on this slide where the evidence comes from and what we extract from NICD epidemiology, from qualitative stigma research, from implementation science. All of it is tied to specific parts of the framework. I want to be transparent. This work isn't theoretical for me. I'm a bilateral cochlear implant recipient, and I spent 40 years managing hearing loss, much of that time wrestling with the shame and stigma of it. I've experienced the exact barriers I'm talking about. That's why I'm pursuing a master's in strategic communications and eventually a PhD. I want to help train providers to communicate better with people like me and the millions of others navigating this. These slides contain far more detail than I've covered: references, checklists for implementation, demographic breakdowns. I encourage you to explore them. If stigma reduction interests you, whether personally or professionally, this framework gives you a roadmap. Thank you.